Sterling Harjo, the director of This May Be the Last Time. Welcome to the Beyond Cinema Lounge here at Sundance.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So let's start out and have you just tell me, how does the title of this documentary relate to the subject matter?
Well, the title of the film, This May Be the Last Time, is reference to a song that the tribes that I come from sing. In our language, it's called Ispogeres Omes Kithiskos, and that translates to This May Be the Last Time We Don't Know. Well, if you take that song, we think it comes out of the 1800s. It's also a slave spiritual song with the exact same lyrics, which moves on to like blues adaptations of the same song. And then the Staple Singers have a hit with a song called This May Be the Last Time. And then Keith Richard hears the Staple Singers version, writes The Last Time for the Rolling Stones, and the Rolling Stones have their song The Last Time. And so it sort of just illustrates how this music that's really integral, it's a really important part of American music that's been left out of history books. Mm-hmm. It sort of illustrates how this music travels through time and space and through cultural.
So you trace it back. And what do you hope to get out of this? What was your hope for making this?
Well, I mean, that's such a small part of the film. It's a film about songs. It's a film about songs that encourage people. It's a film about a very rare style of singing. Mm-hmm. It's also a story of my grandfather who went missing, and they searched for his body, and it's a story that interweaves with the story of the songs. It's about people that are still alive today that have faced a lot of hardships, but use these songs as a way of encouraging themselves and getting past their any adversity that they faced.
Yeah, it was really cool to hear how some of these people connect the songs and singing them and healing from different traumas and loss, even war trauma.
Yeah, totally.
What was something that you learned in the process of making this movie?
I feel like I knew a lot of that the songs were connected to people's personal lives, but the thing that I didn't know is how similar people's stories were and how they dealt with things with these songs in different ways. Mm-hmm. I think it made me realize how true and how real, because hearing the story of my grandfather disappearing was a story that I heard a lot, but it didn't affect me because I wasn't there and I didn't know him. Mm-hmm. But as I made this film and it really brought up all these feelings for people and I interviewed people, it became a very real thing, and you realize that it was actually a person that drowned and they couldn't find him, and it affected all these people to this day, Mm-hmm. So I think that was a big, just a big lesson in storytelling for me.
In terms of shooting, how was it to get the interviews? Are they difficult or easy? How was that process?
No, they were all easy. I grew up in the community and people trust me, and they'd know my films from before, and so everyone was really excited to talk about the songs and my grandpa.
So it's a very personal story for you.
Yeah.
How was that for you to do something so close to?
It was. I didn't intend on it to be that personal. Mm-hmm. I sort of fought against it for a while, but the more interviews that I did, I would do interviews about these songs, and it would end up that the people were actually there searching for my grandfather, and so I'd bring it up, and they'd tell me that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'd have the camera packed away. Mm-hmm. And they would mention that they were there, and I'd have to pull the camera back out, and I'd just start talking and I would start talking to them about it. So that story just really, it was meant to be told, and it just grew out of me filming and talking to people.
So on that note, were there any themes or storylines that you had to cut down just for the sake of runtime?
Totally.
What was the most painful one for you to let go?
There's so many wonderful people that got cut out, and there's a lady named Nancy Deer, and she is a beautiful story, and I'll probably release it as a short. She has no legs, but she lives by herself, and I think she has a grandson. And she gets around in a wheelchair, but her husband's passed away, and her husband sang these songs a lot. She has all these recordings of these songs that he sang, because he would hold the recorder next to him while he was in a congregation or whatever singing, and he would record it, and you could hear him really well. And so she plays these tapes and sings along with him, even though he's gone. And so I have that whole story, and it just didn't fit into the overall film, but I think it would be a cool thing on its own.
For sure.
So, yeah.
What do you think people will be the most surprised by in terms of the roots of music when they watch this movie?
Everything. I don't think, as far as native culture goes, no one knows anything. You can talk to anyone on the streets here in Park City, and they know very little. So for it to be about real people today is even more interesting, I feel like, to them. But it also tackles history. But it also is a very complex situation of like them adapting Christians hymns and you know, and then that's a whole question of like the, you know, Europeans brought this religion over and how are you okay with that? You know, so there's a whole mix of things to learn about that no one has any idea. You know, no one knows about these songs. Just the people that grew up with me or grew up around. I grew up around. They know about these songs. So that was a big thing, is to like really just put a magnifying glass on these songs, show people how important I think they are, and in turn, it'll probably make people learn them and keep them alive longer. So
fantastic. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful documentary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.